Hello, I'm back. So, you might have seen my review of the review, but now, because I forgot the ratio in my review of the review, I am forced to make a review of the review of the review I made of the review. Alright? That did not make sense, but you don't need to know why. So, I prepared a little mind map. Don't mind this little drink here. It tastes terrible, but it's all I have. Alright? So, first, let's start with the root of all this, all right? It's not the fraction, not the decimal, not the percentage. Rather, it's the ratio, all right? Because, ratios, a ratio can also be a ratio percentage, but we're not going to talk about that yet. So, let's talk about the ratio first. The ratio is basically like the subform of a fraction, like before it can actually turn into a fraction. Let's say, this is a ratio, right? 2 divided by 3. And it can be changed, okay, can you see it? You can see it, right? Okay. So 2 and 3, and then you can change it into a factor, alright? 2 on 3. So, let me just adjust it so you can see there. So, yeah, that's basically a ratio. Because, ratios are the root cause. And also a ratio percentage is like comparing two percentages to each other. Let's say, 25 to 50% ratio, all right? That means it is like somewhere in between 25 and 50. That's basically what a ratio is. So now we've done with a ratio, we can erase its part out of the way, all right? All right, so now we'll move on to the secondary part, the fraction, which is basically the building ground, all right? So if the ratios were the builders, factors are the building ground for the continuum. All right, that's how I describe it. Just you don't need to do it how I do it, but like just do it as I do it, right? So the fraction is when two numbers are on top of each other, and the two parts of a fraction, the number down here or b, which is how we represent numbers with letters, it's called a denominator, and the number on top, which is a, it is a numerator. And in most cases, the numerator is smaller than the denominator. However, in math, that is not a necessary thing. It doesn't have to be smaller. So, sometimes you'll meet that fractions with larger numerator. For example, 5-2 or 7-4, type, all right? And a fraction can also be changed into a percentage. For example, 25 out of 100%, or just 25%. You can write it that way, but I suggest you just write it in a normal percentage way. All right, because writing it in any other type than normal numbers is just impractical. All right. So now we've got our building ground. Let's move on to the bricks, which is the decimals. All right. So if the ratio are the builders, factors are the building ground, then this are the materials that they need, all right? The decimals is basically what comes right after a fraction. But real quick note, it looks extremely similar to a ratio, but it only has one dot. Or just a mark. So a decimal is basically just how you get a decimal, which is basically you just multiply the factor. Okay, no, that's wrong. All right. So a decimal on this hand is let's give you an example. You have 5, right? It's basically like, let's say this. In math, you usually learn sometimes you get like 14 with a 6. You cannot calculate 14 divided by 6 because it just doesn't work, right? So you'll get a 2, leaving 2 left, but you can add in a 0, 14 and 0, and that way you'll have a 20, which then gives you okay, actually no, because it will just lead on infinitely. That's what we call a infinite decimal, because the numbers divided together don't have a equal decimal either. So it just goes on forever and ever and ever, alright? And also, finite decimal is unit type. It's just your actual average decimal, alright? So now we've got our minerals. So, and last but not least, the percentage is basically the result of everything, alright? The ratios did the work, factors held it up, and the decimals were built from. And the building was built from the decimals. So basically, percentage is what you get after that. To change a decimal into a percentage, you simply just take the decimal, let's say 0.25 hundredths, and then multiply with 100, and then add the percentage symbol, which you'll get 25%. Very, very simple concept. But of course, just like the decimals, just like the factors, there are percentages larger than 1 and smaller than 1. There's also negative factors as well, and also numbers below 0. So, yeah, that was basically the entirety of the review, alright? So, now, I think you can understand it now. So, this is my last review. Do not make me make a fourth review, please.